Hey, what's up, guys? This is MJ100K, and today we have to answer the question, what is the best year Honda HRV? And that's going to be years 2019 through 2022 if you can afford the extra cost. If you are on a budget, however, your best years are going to be 2016 through 2018 with a manual transmission. I picked these years because in 2019, Honda did a mid model refresh and added a ton of features and upgrades. For the budget minded consumer, I picked the 2016 through 2018 model years with the manual transmission because they are going to be the least expensive choice. But hey, I don't want you to feel like you're getting shortchanged here. A basic transportation Honda with a manual transmission, it's almost like a cheat code for extreme high mileage with extremely low maintenance cost. And there's one other secret benefit to driving a manual transmission vehicle that we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Don't tell nobody.
Before we get into the specifics of why I picked these years, first let's go over a little bit of HRV history. HRV stands for High Rider Revolutionary Vehicle. The first generation Honda HRV ran from model years 1999 until 2006. These models were only sold in Europe, Japan, and select Asia Pacific markets. The second generation HRV came to the US for model years 2016 through 2022. The HRV is based on the Honda Fit platform. It uses a port-injected 1.8-liter R series engine. Here's a fun fact. An older version of this 1.8-liter engine made it to 1 million miles in a Honda Civic. Transmission options include a CVT or a 6-speed manual. The third generation HRV began in model year 2023. It is based on the Honda Civic platform, so it's a little bigger than the second generation. It uses a naturally aspirated 2-liter 4-cylinder engine that gets 158 horsepower. In 2019, Honda did a mid-model year refresh, and they added a ton of modern technology features and refinements that help make the HRV a leader in its class.
Research and development. Putting in the man hours to study the science of what you need.
For example, the HRV now has Apple CarPlay and Android integration. After the refresh, the interior cabin is now quieter than earlier years, thanks to the use of more sound-deadening material in the fenders, floor, and firewall. They also refined the CVT automatic transmission. It's now quieter and has a more natural driving feel. Starting in 2019, all-wheel drive is available across all trim levels, and it offers better performance in the snow and other low traction conditions. If you're looking for the least expensive HRV,
because the way that my bank account is set up, the thing is, I got a checking in the savings, but all my money is in the savings.
I picked the 2016 through 2018 model years with a manual transmission for the following reasons. Number one, they are the oldest year HRVs available in the US and also the least expensive. And let's be honest, outside of sports cars, most people nowadays don't want a manual transmission.
You can read minds.
Since they're not in high demand, you may actually be able to negotiate a lower price when trying to buy these used. Number two, manual transmissions are a lot less complicated than automatic transmissions, so they don't break as often. When they do break internally, it's usually because you need a new clutch. Replacing a clutch is a lot less expensive than replacing an automatic transmission, as I'm sure you know. As long as you don't drive it like a maniac, that clutch should last you a very long time. The number three reason I picked a manual transmission as a low-cost option, in 2025, a car with a manual transmission is basically the best anti-theft device that you could own. Most of the young people stealing cars cannot drive a manual transmission.
Two teens forced the door open, grabbed the driver. They tried to take off, but wait a minute, they couldn't. It's the best anti-theft device you can have. It was a stick shift.
So if you were to get a manual transmission HRV, it's basically kryptonite to car thieves. The number one thing I like about the Honda HRV is the engine. Honda has been making this engine for a long time. I like the fact that it has a timing chain instead of a timing belt, so you don't have to worry about changing it unless there's a problem. And it's pretty unlikely that you'll have a problem as long as you change your oil and do all of your maintenance when you're supposed to. I like that the second generation HRV engine is not direct injected, so you don't have to worry about issues with carbon deposits. I also like that it's naturally aspirated, so you don't have to worry about any turbo related issues. The second generation Honda HRV is peak Honda reliability with an affordable price.
I got a checking in the savings, but all the money is in my savings. So I got to switch it to my checking, but it's going to take 3 business days.
The second thing that I like about the HRV is the interior space. The HRV is based off of the Honda Fit platform, so just like the Fit, it has what Honda likes to call magic seats. These seats are able to fold down into the floor, providing a ton of storage space. The third thing I like about the HRV is the optional all-wheel drive system. It definitely helps a lot in the snow and rain.
Round one, fight!
If you're trying to decide between buying a Honda HRV and a Honda Fit, I would definitely get the HRV if I were you. When I owned a Honda Fit, I did notice that it was terrible in the snow. It was so small and light that it would get stuck fairly often. So if you live in an area that gets a lot of snow, the Honda Fit is not going to be a good choice for you. The Honda Fit and the Honda HRV are on the same platform, but the HRV has more ground clearance, it's a little heavier, and it has that available all-wheel drive.
Round one, fight!
If you're trying to choose between getting a Honda HRV and a Toyota CHR, definitely get the HRV. Many people complained that the Toyota CHR did not have an all-wheel drive option, and it's also very claustrophobic for the rear passengers. I have sat in the back seat of a Toyota CHR, and let me tell you, I completely agree with that assessment. It feels like you're in a cave back there.
You win. Perfect. Round one, fight!
If you're trying to choose between a second generation HRV and a third generation HRV, the jury is still out on that one. The third generation has only been out a couple years, so I'm not going to pick between these two generations right now because there's not enough data for me to look at. I can tell you that the third generation HRV is built off of the Honda Civic platform, so it's bigger than the second generation. But the biggest difference to me between the second and third generation is that the third generation uses a different engine. Instead of the 1.8 liter engine, the third generation uses a 2-liter engine. Actually, I do have high hopes for the third generation 2-liter engine. I think it's going to turn out to be pretty good, but we'll have to give it a few years before we can confirm this. If you want to find out about HRV common problems, I made a separate video where I go over TSBs and other related issues, and I'll link that video in the description if you want to check it out. So to sum things up, I think that the Honda HRV is a great used car choice. It's got a bulletproof engine that has been used for a long time, which is what you want. It's affordable, it's reliable, it's small but not too small so that it's unsafe. And thanks to the Honda Magic Seat system, it has got a ton of interior storage space. But before you run out and buy this or any used car, make sure to do your automotive nerd homework and check the CARFAX report. You want to make sure that the title is in good shape and it doesn't have a lot of accidents. You want to make sure that the previous owner did the required maintenance. Just because you pick out a good used car with a good reputation doesn't mean the previous owner took care of it. You also want to check for odometer fraud, which is everywhere right now. Unfortunately, it's actually easier to set back the odometer on newer cars than it was back in the day. Also, make sure that you get this or any used car inspected before you buy it. If you don't know a mechanic, find a mobile mechanic in your area that can go have a look at the vehicle before you spend thousands of dollars on it. So if you own a Honda HRV, let us know in the comments about your experience with it. good or bad. If you have any questions, you could put those in the comments as well. I try to respond to as many questions as possible. So until the next used car review, thank you for tuning in and have a good one.